Welcome back to our special broadcast here as we discuss the hits, misses and lessons learned from Swachh Bharat at 3. Joining us on the program, Naina Lal Kidwai, Poonam Bir, Abhishek Bagmare and Afroz Shah. Poonam, let me come back to you because we want to talk about the issue of waste and how waste can actually be a resource. And I'm just looking at a report that was put out by PwC, which says that at the present rate, waste generation is projected to increase from about 62 million tons per year to 165 million tons in 2030. According to government data, only about 75 to 80% of municipal waste gets collected, and only 22 to 28% of this waste is actually processed and treated. Poonam, we're talking about a massive challenge here as we take the Swachh Bharat mission forward, not just for rural India, but for urban India as well. And this can be a nightmare specifically for urban India.
In fact, I think it's, Shereen, both an urban and rural issue. I've just been traveling across India, and the amount of plastic that is there in every village, it's strewn all over. And one of the things that, that fascinates me is, we're talking about toilets, but we're not talking about toxicity. We're talking about people, people are burning plastic waste on the roadside, and the kind of toxicity that is putting air, water and soil is something that we have no idea of because it's so insidious. We can't see it. People who can smell it know it, but other people don't even know that there's a problem. So waste is actually a real issue. Because of the densities increasing cities, because of our lifestyle changes, and because of a lot of different materials that are coming into the market, we are going to have a big problem. And so we tell our people that we are picking up poison, delivering poison at a landfill, and just, working with poison. Municipalities need to shift and say, we will not work with poison. And there has to be political will, because unless you segregate, you cannot make it a resource. You won't have any circular economies even possible. So I think it's very, very important for the government at every level to say we will not pick up poison. When I was in a village, I thought I would not see a diaper. But there are diapers strewn, there are animals at that site. I think now the corporates or innovative enterprises need to come in and find alternative materials, because otherwise we are just going to die of poison. It's like, it's a given.
Well,
and it's scary.
Well, yes, and thank you for that reality check, Poonam. There's no other way to put it. But let me go across to Akshay Raut, the Director General of Special Projects at the Swachh Bharat Mission. He joins us as well. Mr. Raut, thanks very much for joining us here on the program. We've been discussing the progress that's been made by the Swachh Bharat Mission, and we also want to focus on the unfinished agenda and the priorities now as you take stock of what's happened over the past 3 years and where you go from here. What would you put down as being the biggest hits, and what are the big priorities now as far as the unfinished agenda is concerned?
Yeah, I think the result of the last 3 years is for everyone to see in such a quick time. For 3 years, if we have moved from a sanitation coverage of 38-39% to about 69%, which is 30% jump, that itself is a reason for every one of us here to feel happy about and to feel encouraged about. That's one. And more than the, of course, sanitation coverage, which is basically relates to construction of toilet and some supply facilities, we have we have 2.5 lakh villages which are open defecation free, because construction is not the same as usage and access, particularly the usage. But we are working on and around people's habits very intensively over the last many months and over the 3 year period in general, and more so in the last 1 or 1.5 years, to make sure that the toilets which are constructed are actually made use of. And we are having now 6 others today.
But Mr. Raut, if I may, sir, and I don't mean to take away from the achievements at all, sir, but I really want to address the data that's being put out, because you said that 2.5 lakh villages, 2.57 lakh villages are now open defecation free. But according to government data, sir, only 1.3 lakh villages have actually been verified as to be open defecation free. Isn't that correct?
See, that's a continuous process. I think there is no contradiction between the two you are talking about. In the process of ODF, we have ourselves, very consciously the program has inserted the measures for verification. It is not only the verification by the next level of the village, that is the block, division and the state, but also by independent verification authority. I'll give you a quick example. Recently, QCI did verification of what's the status of ODF. They found that 91% of the toilets which are constructed are actually being used. So we think that by and large this program is on the track. But yes, the verification work takes its own time because we apply deliberately time so that we know that this is a sustained result. This doesn't crumble like in 2 years, 3 years' time. So the verification process is very rigid, systematic. So we are on that. Now, replying to your earlier question, what next? We are talking about now 6 states ODF. We are talking about 200, more than 200, about 215 districts ODF and 2.5 lakh villages ODF. But we are, just now you talked about the challenge of solid waste management and liquid waste management. These are the issues which will be increasingly addressing. For example, recently, the Ganga, 4,500 villages on the Ganga bank were declared open defecation free. But now, the Ganga Gram project, Adarsh Ganga Gram project, which is basically a lot of solid liquid waste management plus an integrated livelihood, integrated ecological adjustments, and also the, for example, fishermen's livelihood, traditional medicines, and waste disposal, water availability. All these issues will be integrated manner addressed. So we are moving into that phase, which is beyond ODF.
Sir, if I can just pick up on the last point that you made, that now the priority is moving away from ODF to being able to address solid waste management as well as liquid waste management. And there's been a lot of models that have been talked about. What is it that you see specifically from a private sector participation point of view as you move forward on waste management, sir?
We are not. First, we are not moving away from ODF. I am saying that the next phase of work, because we have
the prioritization, yes.
Yeah. So these are simultaneous, and I'm saying that the next phase of challenge will be solid and liquid waste management. We are yet to. It is expected that the target of clean or ODF India by 2019 should be achieved. But simultaneously, a lot of work is beginning on solid liquid waste management, and as you said, this is one area in which the corporate involvement will be not only welcome, it is extremely useful and, if I may, also necessary. Because we are talking about technology, we are talking about management, and we are talking about resources coming in. For today only, in the event which was presided over by the Honorable Prime Minister, we recognized corporations for their working together with Swachh Bharat mission. I think this association collaboration can only be more, not even a bit less in the coming days. Because are we going more complex areas of solid and liquid waste management in which we require all types of resources? I think the corporations have a big role to play, and happy to say.
So how soon?
Happy to say
how
that
soon will we actually see this take off, sir? And what kind of what is it that you would look for from the corporate sector? Would it be technology? Would it be execution? What is the capability specifically that you would look for from the corporate sector?
Well, I think all of this, what you said, all of this, but at present the corporation involvement has just started in some manner. I think in the coming days, as we move towards the conclusion of the Swachh Bharat mission year, which is 2019, and certain goals have been set for ourselves, I think we will look forward to the intensification of this collaboration from the corporates. I think, and it is not that the corporates don't know where, and because they have communities, they have factories, they have industries, they have business all over the country. And they exactly know where they can step in, whether at a district level or a state level, or even they are working with us at a federal level. They exactly know. It's not that they... And we are working under an MOU. We are working with... We sit down together and we exchange what they can do and what the program requires. I think it's just the intensification that is about to... should happen now.
Okay, two quick questions, sir. And I know it's a busy day for you, so I won't take up much of your time. But two quick questions, because there's been a lot of talk around what is the status as far as the World Bank funding to the Swachh Bharat mission is concerned. And that is linked to the independent verification process, where now a consortium, I believe, has been appointed. Can you give us a sense of where things stand as far as the World Bank funding is concerned? And secondly, you know, in terms of the budgets for toilet construction is underway, but in terms of the budgets for education and information to ensure that the behavioral change is a sustainable one, is it accurate that the funding for information and education has come down quite significantly?
Yeah, I'll answer both the parts. One thing is that World Bank is one of our important development partners, and they're working together with us both in every manner and every time, including the aspects which we are talking about, the verification. I think things are going on smooth and working in hand. That's one. Number two, so for the IEC is concerned, you mentioned, I think funds have never been scarce, or funds are not a problem. The funds for IEC is for a certain amount, which is a small amount for the central level, and a large amount is actually deconcentrated towards the states and districts. And they do, because a lot of IPC, interpersonal communication, is required. And let us not forget one fact, is that funds are there, and we like them, the states and districts, to spend more, so that the work is more, the spend is more. In fact, recently, for further funds released to the states and districts, the spend on IEC, which you mentioned, which is very critical to the program, has been made one of the factors. That's one.
Yes.
But we should also realize that there are a lot of spending on IEC or the support on IEC which comes out of the funds, like corporates or NGOs or other programmers who also laterally support the Swachh Bharat mission by putting money and by putting efforts in IEC. But those are not even required to be within the funds of the program. So we are in a very smooth situation, I would say, because funds are never a problem. And behavior change is something that is being the heart of the program. There is no dearth and no intention about giving as much resources as it is required.
All right, Mr. Raut, appreciate you joining us here, sir, on CNBC TV18, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on where things stand and the priorities as far as the unfinished agenda is concerned. We are going to have to take another very quick break, but when we return, we continue our conversation with Afroz Shah, Nainalal Kidwai, Poonam Bir and Abhishek Bagmare on what next now as far as the Swachh Bharat mission is concerned. That and more when we get back.